Now, among the close to 300 recent graduates of the Philippine Military Academy is a Thai national who likes engaging in brutal fights, which he describes as a unique Filipino tradition. Our senior correspondent David Santos talked to Cadet Pira di Sapiro.
Magandang umaga, magandang hapon, magandang gabi.
At a glance, there seems to be nothing unique with this graduating cadet except that he is a Thai national, born and raised in Bangkok. Pira di Sapiro blends well with his mistas or classmates, but he initially was hesitant when Thailand sent him to the Philippine Military Academy 4 years ago as some sort of an exchange student.
Confused, like, first, why me? When I came here, I don't know even English. I am not fluent in English. In Tagalog, I don't know even a word.
The first 2 years was tough for di Sapiro. Aside from the language barrier, he had to adapt to the local culture and traditions, as well as the new environment far from his country. Balancing all these with the challenges of academics, rigorous physical training, and precise military conduct.
During their first year, they will be taught how to speak Tagalog, how to speak Ilocano, and how to read and write.
But when it becomes second year, for Philippine literature is quite, I don't know what is those novel or like Biak ni Lamang or El Filipino. I already forgot about it. It's quite hard for me to cope up and I merely fail in that subject.
Di Sapiro managed to cope up, which he attributes largely to his Filipino mistas, some of whom he says he now treats more like blood brothers. He fondly recalls the budel fight, a Filipino practice he likes. He looks forward to returning to Bangkok so he could take a break before reporting for duty at the Royal Thai Army as a junior officer. And the most important lesson he learned from PMA?
I think discipline. Discipline. Because the basic of military person, basic of every soldier, or basic of every occupation in the world actually is a discipline.
There were previous foreign cadets before di Sapiro, also mostly Thai nationals. A Singaporean even topped the graduating class in 1978. And for di Sapiro, more than the military education and training, he will always bring a part of the Philippines with him wherever he is deployed.
And Kuwaiti officials last week failed to strike a deal on the employment and protection of Filipino workers in the wake of a domestic helper's murder in the Gulf state. And now authorities say the signing of what they say is a binding agreement may just happen next month. But others say a memorandum of understanding is not enough. Cian Arcangel reports.
The government may sign next month a memorandum of understanding with Kuwait for the protection of Filipino migrant workers. Labor Secretary Sylvester Bello says there's a possibility President Rodrigo Duterte himself would visit Kuwait to witness the MOU signing, which was finalized after a series of talks in Manila last week.
The ambassador came to see me yesterday asking me when I would be available to go to Kuwait to sign the agreement. And I said I'm willing. Our president may also opt to go there and sign because he told me in our meeting when I mentioned to him the provisions of the MOU, Your Honors. Sabi niya, pag maganda yung MOU na yan, payag akong pipirma.
Under the MOU, Filipino workers will be allowed to keep their passports or have them deposited with the Philippine Embassy. They will also have a paid day off every week. Meanwhile, a joint committee composed of Kuwaiti and Filipino officials will also check on the worker situation regularly to make sure employers are complying with the MOU. But ACT's OFW party list representative John Bertiz believes the MOU is a weak safeguard to protect migrant workers against abuses.
Sabihin natin legally binding siya. Pero kung wala ka talagang yung tinatawag na batas dun sa host country that will assure and guarantee the protections of our migrant workers, especially mga domestic worker, baka mauulit lang to.
Bello, however, insists the agreement is binding and the government can always pull out its workers if Kuwait doesn't comply.
Whatever agreements we entered into will be will be implemented by them. Now, if they will renege on their commitment, we can always pull out. And then declare a total deployment ban again.
But even if the MOU is signed, Bello says he won't recommend lifting the deployment ban just yet. He says he must first see whether Kuwait will comply with the agreement and what steps it is taking to give justice to Joanna de Mafelis, the domestic worker whose remains were found inside a freezer.
Assuming na ma-meet nila yung dalawang condition ng ating Pangulo, I may consider recommending to the President lifting of the ban only with respect to the skilled workers. Yes.
After forging an MOU with Kuwait, Bello says the Labor Department is now reviewing labor agreements with other countries to check if these are beneficial to Filipino workers.
President Duterte addressing more than 100 graduates of the Philippine National Police Academy. He came late but true to form, delivered an extemporaneous speech, and talked about various issues. George Cahiles reports.
Under the scorching heat of the sun, the supposed mid-morning graduation of the Philippine National Police Academy Maragtas class of 2018 started around noon, because a guest of honor arrived in Silang Cavite just about time. The President exchanged pleasantries with Vice President Leni Robredo, who arrived at the venue around 9:30 in the morning. This is the third time since Saturday that the President and the Vice President paths crossed in public engagements.
Sana po may graduation pang iba para makita pa rin tayo.
In his speech, the President explains he had to iron out some things with Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello in relation to the Memorandum of Understanding with the Kuwaiti government. The President wants 5 things to be included in the MOU: that it must be a government-to-government agreement, inclusion of a mandatory provision allowing OFWs to sleep for at least 7 hours daily, to feed OFWs with nutritious food and not leftovers, to disallow employers from confiscating the passports of Filipino workers, and Filipino workers to be allowed to enjoy holidays.
We are not slaves. Maybe your only fault would be in your country because mahirap lang kami. But I reminded them also that in so many wars in the Middle East, at the behest of the Americans, I don't know why,
during the graduation, the President speaks to the cadets one by one as he hands them their diplomas, giving them valuable advice as they embark into public service.
Sa araw na ito,
Class Valedictorian Police Inspector Fritz Vallador challenges his classmates to be fair and morally upright as they perform their new task of becoming public safety officers.
as future public safety officers, we will always know what is right. And not to do what is right is worse than corruption. It will be plain cowardice not to do what is morally right.
Of the 106 graduates, 76 are joining the Philippine National Police. 13 will be part of the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, and 17 will become officers of the Bureau of Fire Protection. From Silang Cavite, George Cahiles, CNN Philippines.
Now take a look at this beautiful artwork. Vice President Leni Robredo was gifted with this painting by the PNPA Council of Artists ahead of today's graduation rites. This is a piece made by Cadet 4th Class Don Carlo Labastida, who hails from Davao City. Labastida is a self-taught painter. No word yet if President Duterte was also given a portrait. President Duterte questions the qualifications of the International Criminal Court prosecutor who moved to begin the preliminary examination on the country's drug war. The president, speaking at the League of Municipalities General Assembly last night, pointed out that the expertise of ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda is on maritime law. Here's the president in his own words.
Sino namang ngayon napapayag na itong maritime law? You know, just to learn the definition of crime and the numerous, kayo mga abogado tayo, took us 4 years to, and the multiple application of the laws. Tapos bigyan mo akong maritime expert, yung si Fatou.
Casino regulator grants a provisional license to a Chinese company that will build a multi-million-dollar hotel casino resort in Boracay amid the looming temporary closure of the world-renowned island. Our Makoy Popioco tells us more.
To be closed for rehabilitation, but still open for future business, Boracay Island will soon be home to a $500 million Chinese-led resort casino. as PAGCOR signs the provisional license which allows Macau-based Galaxy Entertainment Group to process construction permits. The group's vice chairman says they are still finalizing plans and construction may begin early next year.
I would not be able to go into details of our plan at the moment because we're just starting planning, all right? But I can promise you that we're going to do a eco-friendly and a high-end beach resort which we all be proud of.
Actually, we really wanted Galaxy here because one, they're one of the biggest. Second, they're very known for their environmental concerns. And so far, we've seen the plans and we think that they would be able to sustain and maintain an environmental friendly resort.
Ahead of the signing, a group of protesters gathered in front of the Environment Department's office to condemn the supposed bogus cleanup campaign of top tourist spots. The group said the real motive is to facilitate and attract foreign investors, especially those coming from China. But PAGCOR chairperson and CEO Andrea Domingo is quick to clarify Galaxy Entertainment's application was approved as early as last year. In fact, she says the company had presented its plan to President Rodrigo Duterte in December, long before the president's directive for Boracay's temporary closure.
The president told them, I am very strict with environment and with corruption. Just make sure that you protect the environment and you do not engage in corruption.
Domingo adds the project site is far from Boracay's planned rehabilitation. She says the company still needs to secure a long list of permits, including an Environmental Compliance Certificate or ECC. Environment Secretary Roy Simatu says he will study the project closely when he receives the ECC request.
Masyado nung marami, hindi na kailangan yun.
Stop building na sir.
That is only my, because I'm not really, but if they ask some, mga ECC, well, we consider everything.
Tourism Assistant Secretary Frederick Alegre says the Tourism Department has not received any application for accreditation from the company as yet. He says they are withholding comment until they receive the application. The resort casino will occupy 23 hectares of land. Its 250 rooms and other amenities will be constructed within the next 3 years. Investors say this will provide hundreds of jobs. But critics argue the casino's economic benefits are not enough to ignore its potential environmental risks.
Hard work, perseverance, and dedication. These are among the traits that top graduates of the Philippine National Police Academy showed to achieve their dreams of becoming public safety officers. Our George Kahila speaks to some of them. Hear their stories.
Unexpected and from thousands of miles away, Cadet Fritz Vallador from Negros Occidental receives a special video call from Spain.
Thank you so much, anak. Thank you sa parangal na to. Karangal na to ng buong pamilya natin.
Salamat,
Thank you so much. Love you.
Vallador is the valedictorian of the Philippine National Police Academy Maragtas class of 2018. An OFW, Anna Marie will not be able to go home for her son's graduation on Wednesday. But her heart is full of pride and happiness with Fritz's stellar achievements despite all odds.
Ikaw yung nagbigay ng inspirasyon sa mga kapatid mo.
Becoming a police officer has been the childhood dream of Cordillerans cadets Francis Faggang and Jess Agustin. They both finished a criminology degree in Baguio City before entering the academy.
Nagagalak po at yung 4 na taon po namin dito ay magwawakas na.
Kami po handa para magserbisyo para sa bayan.
For Cadet Cherry May Montaño of General Santos City, everything fell into the right place at the right time. Already a licensed teacher when she decided to enter the PNPA, she failed at her first attempt. But she was determined and fate gave her a second chance.
Akala ko dati hindi na ako makakapasok dito pero biglang nagbago yung age requirement po. So biglang pwede na ulit.
This year's graduating class is the smallest in recent years, with only 106 cadets making the cut. Of these, 76 will join the Philippine National Police, 13 will join the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, and 17 will be part of the Bureau of Fire Protection.
Ang gagawin lang nila is to just apply kung ano yung mga natutunan nila dito.
PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa has asked all PNPA graduates who will join the PNP to be members of the Special Action Force. And just like the good officers they aspire to be, they are ready to take on the challenge and become the new breed of leaders in their chosen public safety agencies.